once lived in, my spirit by then will have fled. I'll have finished my time here allotted, but I won't be in darkness alone. I will have heard from heaven the summons to come on home. And when my body is in the grave, don't think that I'll be there. I won't be dead but living in the place Jesus went to prepare. And after all is said and done, know that my last earnest prayer is that my loved ones be ready someday to meet me there.
Hello, everybody. That's Tim Coffin, and welcome to the. That's his last name, Coffin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. My name is Cliff. This is Tim. It is Wednesday, April. No, it's May. Why do I keep thinking it's April? It's May the 15th, 2023. So glad to have you with us. That was Julie Collins bringing us in with her lovely singing voice there. Tim, I believe you did some recording with her, didn't you?
Yes, Jamie Danielle Collins out of Virginia.
Yeah, beautiful voice.
We're doing some recording right now. I did a singer-songwriter round with her. It's been a while back, but over Wallace in Johnson City. And one of the songs that she did just was literally stuck in my head for an entire month after I played with her. So I just messaged her. I was like, "Hey, look, if you'll come record this at my house, I'll totally do it for free. Just because I really like the song."
Yeah.
And she's on top of her game, so she got a couple of things recorded. But anyway, we're going to try to release as many as she wants to record. I just like what she does. So that's it's kind of my big middle finger towards like artificial intelligence and stuff. It's like she's a real person. She's a school teacher, and she's a bass player for some other folk acts that are doing pretty good. She's slowly moving into her own singer-songwriter thing. And that's a real individual that giving them free recording time would do a lot for them. And I don't know. I'm just we're going to get a lot of fake music over the next couple of years. So if I can fuel the real human music just a little bit, I would like to do that.
Well, I'm so glad you did, and I'm glad you sent it to me. That was it was a haunting and beautiful melody. She's really got that nice tone to her voice, and you did a good job on. I'm sorry.
She's got a mountain voice. I like it.
Yeah. It's a voice that fills the hollers, and it's a voice that will carry, and she really has that kind of low that alto tone, that powerful alto tone. It's really nice. But you did a good job recording it too. Her voice sounds really good, and it sounds nice and airy and takes up a lot of space, but it's not overbearing. You did a good job on it. It's hard to do a good recording on an acapella.
Well, she just, there really wasn't too much to do to it. She took her guitar into the booth. I recorded her hitting a B string.
Mm-hmm.
Or a B note,
Yeah.
And then I played that in her ear for a few seconds, just looped it till she got it in her head, and then she did that little at the beginning. So I didn't do it. There's not a lot of tomfoolery. That's basically just her singing with a compressor and some reverb, a whole lot of reverb. But there's not a lot of professional trickery behind it other than the compression.
Well, that's awesome. Well, share this with her, and Jamie, if you're watching this later, it's a great song, and you've got a great voice. Whoops, I lost an earbud. Oh.
Sounds like
Sorry about that, folks. Complicated business.
It sounds like a Disney scene where like a kitchen's being collapsed in on itself, or some pots and pans falling everywhere.
That's yeah. Merlin the wizard is cleaning up the cleaning up the stuff there, cleaning up the kitchen. But yeah, Jamie Danielle Collins, very nice, very nice. Thank you for joining us. Hey everybody, if you don't mind, go ahead and hit the like button down around there. Dustin's groin is not here, so I can't point to that to show you where, but it's somewhere in this area. If you'll hit that subscribe button and hit the bell, that way you'll get the notifications every Sunday and Wednesday night at 10 p.m. when we go live to get into any number of topics of discussion. Tonight, we were going to talk about something, and everybody else has already talked it to death, so I don't want to, and a lot of them said the same things that I was going to say, so I don't want to do that. It's not my bag, baby. So I got some cool stuff to look at. I saw a video going around Twitter of an interview with Elon Musk. It's about 3 minutes long. I've not watched it, but a lot of people are saying it's a very important interview, and I thought I'd like to put that on there, and we can all share it together, and we can see what we think about it. I'll get your comments, and we'll discuss it, and Tim will discuss it, and hopefully you in the chat will jump in there and give us your opinion or give us any thoughts you may have. So we'll start with that, and then later, after we get done with a few things on that, we're just gonna kind of, like I said, the show that I had planned, everybody's already done, so I don't even want to do it. But we'll kind of go through the trending session on Twitter if we still have some time left to fill, and we'll see what's happening there. Let's go to Elon Musk on. Oh yeah, I'm going to put this in the, actually, real quick, I'm going to put this in the description. We've got our Rumble channel over there. We've only got 10 subscribers over there. We built our audience on YouTube. So if you're at Rumble, thanks for joining us. And if you're on YouTube, go make you a Rumble account. Let's get away from this big tech monopoly. You know, Google owns basically everything, and Amazon owns basically everything else. So between them, if one wants to shut you off, you know, your big major platforms, there's not too much separation between them. So Rumble right now is a free speech platform. That's how they're selling themselves. That's how they're getting investment in them. And Twitter is also. So I think I'm going to start streaming on Twitter. If you'd be interested in streaming on Twitter, give me say Twitter in the comments or in the chat so I'll know. But it's like $8 a month to get access to the Twitter Pro account or whatever it is, and you get live streaming and extended video uploads. So since they're bringing that back, their Periscope service was pretty good. So if they're bringing that back, then heck, I'll pony up the $8 a month to stream to another platform. So if you'd be interested in that, give me a big hell yeah or a Twitter or something in there so I know about it. Somebody mentioned before streaming on Twitch. I don't know how Twitch is primarily for gaming, but I think there are some talk shows and stuff on there. What do you know about Twitch, Tim?
I've just only heard it referred to in terms of gaming and e-girls.
Mm.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I had a guy, a fellow that used to come see me at one of the tap houses around here. He suggested streaming on Twitch at one point in time, but he wasn't suggesting a show like this. He was suggesting me just doing some mild conversation and a lot of like musical stuff. So I don't know. Twitch is a very lighthearted, like, I'm pretty sure they banned Dr. Disrespect just for being quote unquote toxic. He wasn't even really doing anything bannable. They just didn't like the fact that a guy that was full of attitude openly was kind of on there, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, I could be speaking out my hind end right now. Somebody wants to correct me, but Twitch doesn't seem like they seems like they openly discriminate.
Seems
shows
like
that they don't really.
Yeah, it does not seem like they're a free speech platform from what I've heard. Again, I'm not that familiar with it. I've used it for some. My wife uses it. She watches some streamers and some streaming gaming on there. And I got an account to watch Yeti stream. He did some gaming streaming, and I watched those. And I haven't got any notifications in a while, so I guess he's not doing them anymore. But that's only the real. I think he did about 4 episodes that I watched there, and that's all the real experience I have with Twitch. So I really don't know, but I do know Twitter is billing itself as a free speech platform. So I kind of like to put my money where my mouth is with stuff like that. If I believe in, you know, if it is a true free speech platform, then I want to reward it via the free market. via my $8 for being a free speech platform, and it's not. I'll keep my $8, but either way, I think it's worth doing. So we'll check that out. And again, y'all let me know if you're interested. I'm putting in the description the Rumble channel link here, so you can follow us over there. And Rumble channel link what I was talking about, all the cool kids are talking about, that I decided I'm not going to talk about, is more or less everybody was doing a variation of, well, what do you know? The conspiracy theorists were right. It's funny how that always works out, isn't it? But no more so than over the last 3 years, especially. So many things have come true. But over the last few weeks, we found out that the 9/11 hijackers were being not only being monitored as previously known, but they were CIA informants. So all the way back to 2001, so many things have come out. President Kennedy was likely killed by the CIA. That has come out. Bill Gates was in the news talking about stratospheric aerosol injections. Again and again, the conspiracy theorists are proven right, up until the point where, Trump was, the whole Russia thing that they framed Trump with. Turns out, they actually did frame him. They're not going to be charged with it because the government determined that there was no indication that they did it all on purpose. So there's no indication that the Clinton campaign used their connections with the FBI to get a source investigated or get a story investigated that they knew wasn't true. The FBI knew wasn't true, and the source that reported to it wasn't true. Then got that leaked to the press. When the press wrote a story on it, then the FBI used that story as justification to get warrants to spy on people within the Trump campaign, and then they were able to get everybody's information. They framed them. They worked in concert. They communicated over government text messages. They left handwritten notes, but they determined that there was no evidence that they were doing it together. And Tim Pool, he's one of the people who I was talking about, who kind of did the same thing that I was planning to do. He did it last night. He said it'd be like if, and they arrested an FBI lawyer who changed a memo. He was the only one who got arrested, and I think he got off pretty scot-free. He didn't even lose his law license. But he knowingly falsified some materials in the warrant process to let them gain access to a search warrant that they wouldn't normally have gotten. And meanwhile, all the people who orchestrated it, your Hillary Clinton, your John Brennan, all your top deep state boys in the FBI, all these guys, James Comey, they are walking away with not even a slap on the wrist. So that would be like basically somebody robbed a bank. This is Tim Pool's analogy, but I think it's a pretty good one. Somebody robs a bank. A group of people rob a bank. They conspire to rob the bank. Okay, there it is. They conspire to rob a bank. There's openly communications. We have evidence of communications about conspiring to rob the bank. The bank gets robbed. They just get away with it, and then they arrest the getaway driver and charge him with a parking violation. That's pretty much what just happened there. So again, I won't go elaborate over it, but the conspiracy theorists were right again. There's all kinds of people that did a show about it. Just all the conspiracy theories that have come true, from the Wuhan lab to the list goes on and on and on. Again, I was going to do a whole show, but it's been done. So we're going to do something else. So this is Elon Musk on CNBC the other day. He's being interviewed. I've not watched it yet. So let's watch it together and see what we think. Oh, let me catch up in the chat first. Joe Beather says, "Look no further, fella, the truck runs. Woo woo." Yeah, we had a good success at work today. Truck number 2, ready to go on the road. Spill, hello, how you doing? And she says she thinks it's mostly gaming, referring to Twitch and Rumble. You can say a little more, but not much. And yet again, well, I've heard that Rumble is not perfect, but they, are letting, they're promoting themselves as free speech, and they are letting people say a lot that they're not being able to say on YouTube. And probably more free speech is going to be your Odyssey and LBRY. If LBRY is still out there, they lost a big federal lawsuit where they seemed like they weren't going to be able to operate anymore, but because they were running as securities, the feds determined they were running a securities fund, and they had to be, follow a whole different set of rules, which was really going to fuck them up. but LBRY was a blockchain based, I think it was blockchain based, but it was using the Odyssey system, and it had a currency with it based on you creating Odyssey movies and how many views they got, how many streams and stuff gained you value within their system, and the SEC determined that it had a monetary value, so therefore they were trading in securities, and that it was something they couldn't do. But I've not heard about that case in months, so I don't know. But Odyssey would be somewhere where you can really stream for free. But unfortunately, it's just so hard to find an audience there. If you don't have an audience to bring there, even people with big audiences on other platforms don't do well with, with audiences on Odyssey, except for the people that they bring from other platforms who just want to go to Odyssey to support them like a free speech platform. So, yeah, there's not really there's a lot of options out there, but there's only so many that are actually viable. We'll put it that way. But let's check out this interview with Elon Musk. It's about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. We'll watch most of it. We'll pause it here and there, and I'll give Tim a chance to catch up, because he's on a delay from me. For some reason, we can't share the screen over this, so he's going to have to watch on his. But here it goes, Tim. I'm going to kick it with Elon Musk.
Make a choice. You don't see, in terms of when you're going to engage. For example, even today, Elon, you tweeted this thing about George Soros. Well, I'm looking for it because I want to make sure I quote it properly. But, you know what you wrote. But you basically...
It reminds me of Magneto. This is like, calm down, people. This is not like made a case out of it.
You also... you said he wants to erode the very fabric of civilization, and Soros hates humanity. Like, when you do something like that, do you
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Okay, but why share it? Why share it? Especially, why share it when people who buy Teslas may not agree with you, advertisers on Twitter may not agree with you? Why not just say, hey, I think this. You can tell me, we can talk about it over there, you can tell your friends, but why share it widely?
Why share something that's important to you if it could affect your bottom line? Doesn't money mean more to you than anything else in the world, Elon? God, what's wrong with you? And it may for Elon, I don't know, but that's basically the question he's asking, isn't it, Tim? Did you get a chance to see it, Tim?
I couldn't really hear it. I was afraid if I listened on my computer.
Oh, it'd be feedback. Oh, okay, sorry. Well, this guy's basically asking Elon, because apparently Elon said something, I didn't catch it, about George Soros, that he wanted to erode the fabric of society, and this guy's asking him, why say that? He said, that's my opinion. He says, yeah, but why say it? Well, you could express it to me. People who buy a Tesla might not want to hear that, and people who, people who disagree with you might not buy a Tesla because they hear that, and we're going to get Elon's answer here.
This is freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say what I want.
You absolutely are, but I'm trying to understand why you do, because you have to know it puts you in the middle of the partisan divide in the country. It makes you a lightning rod for criticism. Do you like that? People today saying he's an anti-Semite. I don't think you are.
No, I'm definitely. I'm like a pro-Semite, if anything.
I believe that probably is the case.
Yes.
But why would you even introduce the idea then that would be the case?
Listen, we don't want to make this a George Soros interview.
No, God, no. I don't want to at all. But what I'm trying. Even came up though in the annual meeting. Do your tweets hurt the company? Are there Tesla owners who say, I don't agree with his political position and I know it because he shares so much of it? Or are there advertisers on Twitter that Linda Yaccarino will come and say, you got to stop, man. Or, I can't get these ads because of some of the things you tweet.
He's just, reiterating the question in a longer form, but we're just going to take a break for just a second because we're, not wanting to show the whole thing for too long so that CNBC says it's not fair use or something. But let's look at it one more time. Let's finish it up here and see what Elon says to the 2 minutes that this guy took asking the question.
Tweet.
I'm reminded of there's a scene in The Princess Bride. Great movie.
Great movie.
Where he confronts the person who killed his father. And he says, offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Okay.
Well, kind of sounds like he means it. He says, "I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of it is losing money, then so be it." And he quoted Diego Montova from The Princess Bride, great movie, and so yeah, good for him. Seems like he's sincere. He's definitely willing to put some money out there, but you never know. These sobs get very, very, very complicated and tricky to deal with and tricky to detect. You never can tell about these things, but I like a lot of the stuff he's saying, and basically, I think what he was referring to with Soros was he's elaborated in other interviews that Soros is basically going into different areas of the country and funding progressive politicians and progressive district attorneys and encouraging them to not prosecute crime. And that's the reason that a lot of these jurisdictions where they have huge skyrocketing crime rates and people can't go outside without getting robbed, but then you check the city statistics and the crime is down. Well, no, it's because people stop reporting it because nobody does anything about it. And they're like, oh, New York's the safest big city in the world. Well, that may be true. Maybe. But, what happens when you see videos every day of people getting, mugged and beat up in broad daylight and nothing ever happens to them. And you see stories every day where somebody this is his 65th arrest for breaking an old lady's nose, and he got out the next day, and they gave him a Mets ticket as a reward as said, this is your incentive to show up to your court date. Have a Mets ticket. So a lot of people are saying that this is a game plan by Soros, and that's why he is funding these things, is he's trying to deteriorate the fabric of society, and that's what Elon Musk was saying there. And it's one of those things where any criticism of George Soros is met with the call of, the charge of anti-Semitism. And, or if at the very least they'll say, oh, well, Holocaust survivor George Soros, who's a philanthropist, says this. And, they'll kind of give it that, even if they don't overtly say that somebody's being anti-Semitic, they always, add that little overtone or little undertone. So good for Elon. If that's what he thinks, I'm glad he's willing to say it. And I like that he kind of thought it was absurd, kind of the same way I did, that the guy was asking him this. He's like, yeah, but you could lose money. What if people don't like you? You'll lose money.
Good concern.
Huh?
It's a good concern.
It is a good concern, but at the same time, you can tell, this guy's he can't fathom why someone, or it seems that way, that he can't fathom, seems as if he can't fathom that why someone would do something that could cost them money. Why someone would choose their principles if it costs them money. I'm sorry.
Do you think he's trying to appeal? He's trying to ask him to, because here's how I kind of interpreted that was why would you even get involved?
Yeah.
You're a very rich person. Aren't you afraid you'll lose money? Because, you know what I'm saying? You see somebody with a lot of money, you automatically assume that that's what they care the most about.
Yeah.
It just, maybe that is what he cares the most about. I don't know the guy, but maybe it was an appeal to the wallet,
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's what it was. Yeah. And I think you're right about what he was asking it. I just felt the way he was asking it was kind of like it was almost like he just couldn't fathom that somebody would do that, rather than, you know, I guess he did ask him about it in his own way, but it was just kind of like, why? You know, unfathomable that someone might value something more than that. Someone in his position might value it more than money. And I think I think you make a good point there. That, you know,
It's just a theory.
yeah.
really.
Well, I
Like,
mean, I think it's a good idea.
he's sitting there talking to a super, super rich guy, and he's like, "But aren't you afraid you're going to lose some money?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "I mean, I see that as kind of like naive because it's like that's the kind of person that would be willing to lose it."
Yeah,
It's
and a
not
guy like George Soros,
guy.
what did George Soros gain from funding all these district attorney races around the country? And I think a lot of people, rightly so, have pointed out that the man doesn't live in any of these cities, but in these states, but he's influencing the politics with his donations, and they're kind of all going in the same direction. So I can see why people would definitely. And again, I'm not, you know, I don't know enough about the whole Soros thing, to be honest. It's something you see in, you know, conspiracy news and right wing news and stuff all the time. I honestly have not looked that much into the guy. I've seen the interview where he's talking about, you know, when he was a teenager, I think he was 14 or so, during the Holocaust, and he went around and collected property of the Jewish folks there where he lived with the Nazis. But, you know, it's like, dude was 14. He didn't have anybody else with him. I mean, I guess he could have let him kill him, or could have gone with him. I mean, it's not really like he probably had whole lot of options then. So I probably would give him more. Do what? Do
Well,
what?
that's a hard one to come back from.
Yeah.
You know, being one of the guys that didn't
Yeah.
help. You know, it's kind of hard to come back from. But
It is.
if you look at the interview, not to be one of the guys the grand evil wizard would come after, there's an interview that people are really hung up on. I'm pretty sure it's with the BBC, where a reporter tries very hard to get him to be like, yeah, I sure do regret those
Oh
years.
no, he was like, I like taking the property.
Not only did he not say that they weren't unhappy, that he didn't regret it, he referred to them as very happy years.
Yeah, that's what
Like, you can find that interview up pretty easy. He's just an old guy that's just like,
Yeah.
you would have done it too, or something to
Yeah.
that extent. It's just like, I think you're a monster, and
That's-
everybody else went to the ovens with the Jews, you psychopath.
Yep, that's actually where I was going to end up, is because I was going to say you could forgive somebody who was 14 years old for being in that situation and making the wrong choice, but
Not forceful. It was what everybody was hung up on. He seems like he really was just kind of like, you would have killed some Jews too if you were me. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, no,
And-
that's not how he's thinking.
and that was what he said, though. He did say it was happy years, happy time of his life, and he said, well, if it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else, so I was glad to take the property, or something. I'm paraphrasing, but it's pretty close to that. So that's what I was going to say. If not for that, then you could kind of understand being 14 years old, and what are your options? You've been captured, and you can, they might not even, who knows what they might do in that situation. But I'm just saying, it's understandable that a 14-year-old boy might make that decision. But like you said, when you hear him talk about it, and is not only unremorseful, but happy to have played a part of it, it's kind of like changes the story. But anyway, I don't know enough about it to go into any more on that feller than that right there. But I do want to, let's finish up today. It's 10:41, and we started a few minutes late, but I want it to be kind of a quick show. It's Wednesday night. I went today, while I was at work, I was down and I stopped by the Salem Cemetery in Chuckey or Limestone. It's somewhere down on 11E in Tennessee, between Greenville and Johnson City. And it's at the old Washington College Academy. Now, the Washington College Academy was founded by Samuel Doak, who was a hero of the Revolution. He was a minister. He was a Presbyterian minister. He was born in this says 1749 here on TennesseeEncyclopedia.net, but the gravestone there at Salem Cemetery pretty sure it says 1740. But this is the Reverend Doak, and he was probably most famous for being the minister who gave the sermon leading up to he did the sermon at the muster at Sycamore Shoals, leading to the Over Mountain men taking up the Over Mountain Victory Trail to Kings Mountain to go fight Patrick Ferguson in the Revolutionary War. Now, Doak was, he was, like I said, he was a Presbyterian minister, and he went to, I think, Harvard. Let me look here. Got it. The college. He went to Princeton. That's where he went. He graduated Princeton in 1775, and eventually came down here to. He was born in Abington or in Virginia, and he started his pastorate in Abington, Virginia, and kind of rode the circuit in Tennessee. And he settled in Sullivan County and moved to Washington County, where he formed Salem Church and a school, which was chartered as St. Martin's Academy in 1783, the first chartered school in the region. In 1795, it became Washington College. And I'm pretty sure Washington College is still operating in some form or fashion. They did have, it was a private school there for a while, private Presbyterian school. When I was back in the early 2000s, I worked with a girl who had played basketball there when she went there in the 90s. But at any rate, it was a good sized academy here, and it got pretty big. The grounds are still there. A lot of the old buildings are still there. It's really cool. You can check it out. But also is the Salem Cemetery from the Salem Church that Doak founded. And he was also, when we've talked about the state of Franklin on this show a lot, he was also a delegate to the state of Franklin. And let's see. They got Chucky Doak. I don't know who the Chucky is in Chucky Doak School, but the Doak is Samuel Doak, I'm assuming. But here's the entrance to the Salem Cemetery. Cemetery gates. 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 Right here. It does say 1780 there, but you can't see it. I guess the resolution's too low. You can see it on the picture on my phone, but apparently when I emailed it, the resolution got too low. But there's some old tombstones in here. Some really, I don't know if you like old cemeteries. You ever go to Old Cemetery, Sam, and look around?
Only when I'm suicidal. No. No, I've not done that in a very long time. There for a while they had us in school, like going through and doing like the rubbings and stuff like that. But no, I was never emo enough to hang out in cemeteries, but I think it was more of a proximity issue. They were all too far away from where I lived.
Well, there's me and B went on a vacation not just to go to Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, but that was one of the highlights of our trip, was going to checking that place out. But there's just so much history and so much beauty and so much human, like, it's almost like everything that there is to being human is there in that cemetery. It's like all your love, your hate. If you don't show up to the funeral, if you do show up to the funeral, all the energy is there as that body's buried. We care. It's a ritual that's very old, and even the primates do it. They bury their dead, and it started in the caveman because we don't want to see animals eat people we know, and that's why the monkeys do it too. And it's something that goes way back, and it's kind of where it's the culmination of all these emotions. There's these powerful forces that converge, whatever they may be, in the cemetery at the time of somebody's death, and everybody getting together, and you can feel it in the air. There's tension, there's sorrow, and but then there's also relief, and there's also hope, and there's love. So it's a very interesting place. And like I said, when you put the historical context into it, when you get things like Samuel Doak's grave, and this one, look here, this is Alexander Mathis, born in 1740, died in 1806, served in the Revolution as captain of the militia in Shenandoah County, Virginia in 1770. And he was 1777. He was a Tennessee pioneer in 1782. And he's got his, down here at the bottom, you can just barely see it, his Sons of the American Revolution, or Soldier of the American Revolution. I'm not sure which. SAR Patriot. Here it is. You can see a little bit of there. But some of these, like most of these, I couldn't even read. And these are all from the same area. So I imagine these are people who died in probably the early 1800s. And here's Samuel. Oh, it does say Samuel 1749, so I'm mistaken. It was Mathis that was born in 1740. But this was built by the Daughters of the American Revolution in Morristown. The Samuel Doak chapter there, but they put that big old headstone up there for Samuel Doak. I got a couple of these other ones here so you can see them. They're, there's no legible inscription on them. But somebody must know who's there because they've got a Sons of the American Revolution Patriot stone there beside him. So imagine one of these guys, this place was 1780 when it started. Somebody was buried here in 1780. And this was a cool one too. There's a lot of really, really neat ones, but I didn't have a lot of time to take pictures. But you can just see the age on that one, and you can think about how, back then, 250 years ago, or 240 years ago, I guess, when your family, it's not like you had like a wagon and a horse, a couple horses, and an old milk cow. Most people, weren't well to do, but somehow when somebody,
what was that, 2 horses and an old milk cow?
Yeah, 2 horses and an old milk cow. Yeah.
That was that stupid Beck song with the turntables.
Getting crazy with the cheese whiz. But no, people didn't have much. People usually built their own houses with things that they found on the land. But, this was skilled craftsmanship, and it's what I was talking about. People cared enough, and they felt strongly enough about protecting the dignity and giving a dignified and respectful burial to their loved ones. And they put a lot of time and money that they probably didn't have into having like these custom engraved tombstones that would have taken a skilled craftsman quite a lot of work and was very expensive and heavy to transport. And it just, like I said, it's just, these are things that people meant to last forever. They wanted not only to protect their bodies, loved ones' bodies from wild animals, but they wanted people hundreds of years later to know who their loved ones were because they thought they were that important. And I think they were. And I'm so glad that these people cared enough to leave us this record and leave us this, I'm glad that they loved and respected and revered their ancestors and loved ones enough to leave this record of them, because otherwise we might not have any record. It's that, that keeps humanity marching on. And even though we might not have, the greatest among us leading the march, those of us down here on the ground, we can still see, little peaks of grace, little peaks of amazement, little pieces of what makes humanity amazing and all that humanity is capable of, all of its dreams, all of its expectations, all of its hopes, all of its sorrows, all of its fears. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm glad you're here with us tonight. Glad you're here, Tim. Appreciate everybody joining us. Leave us a comment. Leave us a like. Follow us on the Rumble channel. Sure would appreciate it. And this Sunday, we're going to get into a show on a particular topic. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be one topic. And we'll get into it, and I'll get into a local history thing. I thought about saving this one for Wednesday, but then since my show plan was shot in the foot, I thought about saving it for Sunday, but I figured we'll go ahead and bring it out now. Yeah, Joe, our job is so much fun. This is in limestone, Joe said. So everybody, I'm going to give Tim the last word here because I've ranted for a long time, and Tim has been staring at me. So I will give it to him. We'll see you Sunday at 10. Take us out, Tim.
I always thought that the vampire hunter would be a scarier creature to be chased into the night than the actual vampire, because a vampire has rules it has to follow. You can, if you can find its kryptonite, fairly easy to take out. Whereas the vampire hunter is just a guy. He has like an entire religious organization behind you. He can lie and totally kill somebody that's not even a vampire and completely get it wrong. So I would rather be chased by a vampire, because if I kill him, It's no questions asked. I don't want to be hunted by a vampire hunter. Everybody will always suspect you as a vampire the rest of your life. So be careful of those guys. Don't hang out with guys in puffy shirts. They'll get you in trouble.
But I don't want to be a pirate. Everybody have a good night.